Um, well, you wanted to talk about philosophy, right? So, what? Why don't you start? Because you have to tell me what you're thinking. No? Tom Bombadil, yes. Wait, where are you getting this from? I mean, are you talking about my interview with Krista Rose? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I think that Tom Bombadil is a character that I like because he is ambiguously intelligent. So, there is nothing in the book that definitively proves him to be intelligent, and he appears to be stupid, and yet what he actually does is in fact a possibly a more intelligent strategy. Yeah, yeah. Gandalf thinks it's very important to defeat Sauron, and Tom Bombadil thinks that it is not all that important. Yeah, yeah, sure. And I mean, but to me, it's not should versus shouldn't. It is versus isn't, because it's not like you can stop people from investing in something. So if the investors say that Bitcoin Q is the most valuable one, then how you it's kind of futile to disagree. No, I want to see what something that I disagree with here is people see the core versus cash as a conflict of visions, and they say that this is which vision is going to determine what happens to Bitcoin. But to me, what matters is my vision. It doesn't matter what those guys' vision is. So I am willing to work with whichever side is going to make something closer to my vision. So I am not currently taking a strong position in either direction because I think that either side could learn to do better. Yeah. Yeah, one of the ways that you can tell if people have risked too much by going all in on one side or the other is who wants to argue with you the most. Like who is the most insistent that you come over to their side. They're the people who are risking a lot. Well, I think that fees are important, and I don't think that. So what I have been unhappy with is uh, the core developers' insistence that fees don't matter, whereas mining centralization does matter. Okay, so I would say that the market should determine which of these two factors is more important, and you don't get to say which is more important if there isn't a lot of money being risked, uh, behind that idea, right? Because to me, like high fees make Bitcoin less valuable in a very obvious way, whereas mining centralization perhaps makes Bitcoin less valuable, although I, I'm I'm not really I don't really see like how big of an effect that would be. So I think that it is the investors who should weigh the relative value of these two things, not the developers. Sure. I mean, yeah. Why would I not like that? Well, yeah, I would say that the most important use case for Bitcoin is evading capital controls and inflation, and it is not. It is less important to be able to make retail purchases. Um, but once again, there is a there is a point where any need can become the most important one for the moment. Okay, so so once again, like ultimately, this is something that I think the investors as a whole should decide. Yeah, you're much better off making a fork of Bitcoin than making an altcoin, because I would say that the value the the long term value of making a coin is that it will win out and be the biggest one eventually. And that is going to happen a lot more easily if you make a fork than if you make an altcoin. So currently I'm very annoyed about the core developers' position on replay protection, because I would say that a fork which does not implement replay protection is superior competition to one that does. So I would say that you should make a fork of Bitcoin that does not implement replay protection rather than making an altcoin. Oh, okay. Well, allow me to indoctrinate you on my perspective then, because now you are a new mind, so that makes things easy. So the idea of so if you just make a fork of Bitcoin, um, let's say you make a change that does not affect the format of transactions in any way. So let's say you just increase the maximum block size by some factor, and that means that every transaction which um, which was valid on the Bitcoin core chain is also going to be valid on your chain, and that is no replay protection. So if you implement replay protection, you add an additional rule which says after my new block, so starting with my new block, the address formats are different. See, so I would say that if you implement replay protection, that creates a hard split between the two bitcoins. It's like it is an event that takes place at one point in time, and then they are apart. And the people who want to use your chain have to learn that it exists, and they have to start using the new address format. And to me, that is neutering your potential as an investment. Well, may I, let me tell you the alternative first, and then you can tell me what do you think of that, because so the alternative is you don't implement replay protection, and what that means to me is you effectively create an intermediate state between two different rules of Bitcoin. So let's say that the values of the two chains are roughly equal. That means we've got a Bitcoin that is 50% rule A and 50% rule B, and if eventually one set of rules will dominate, and that will effectively mean, and it'll be a smooth transition. So people who do not want to be involved in the decision to change Bitcoin's rules don't really have to do anything, because they can still make they can send transactions into the network, and they can and they will be even on both chains, or at least eventually things will diverge, but it is like a slow divergence rather than an immediate one. And so I think that makes it easier for Bitcoin's rules to change. And to me, a fork without replay protection is just a proposal to change the rules, and the investors can decide if they want it. Right. So yeah. I'm talking about prices. So Miners will follow investors. So if the new chain gets more valuable, then they will want to mine more on that chain. I'm sorry, I don't understand your question, but the idea is if you don't implement replay protection, then your transaction can be mined on both chains. Whereas if you do, then it can't. You have to make two different transactions. No, not necessarily. It could just be mined on one and not on the other. But to me, that is a slow divergence rather than an immediate divergence, and that is preferable from the standpoint of an investor. Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, that's what I think. Yeah. And to me, this is kind of like the core developers are protecting their position, and they're saying that a better investment shouldn't exist because they don't like it, and that is not a position that they will be able to maintain indefinitely. Yeah. What do you mean minor? But you mean like the release schedule? Why would we do that? Well, I think Well, I mean, I think that would be a are you still hearing me? You still there? Oh yeah, no, your image disappeared. But well, I would say that if the if the miners got the impression that they could not depend on Bitcoin's release schedule to continue as advertised, then that would be a way to make people feel like they could not trust Bitcoin. I don't think so. That doesn't sound. That just sounds like on a that sounds like a dick move to me. I mean, I don't think that this coin would be more valuable because I would say that you are changing um, you are changing expectations that are integral to what makes Bitcoin valuable. No, I don't know, but I don't. I mean, I think that people are worried about mining centralization, and I'm just not. Like I don't see the problem there. Well, I mean, why? Well, why should I tell you an argument not to do that? Why? I mean, I just don't see the problem. I don't see the problem with people being insanely wealthy. And to me, like if somebody has lots of mining power, and they try to control what happens in Bitcoin, that people will reward other miners more. Okay, and people will find ways of avoiding that miner. Okay, so I just don't think that is such a big deal. I think that miners are good citizens. What do you mean incredibly poor within the system? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're poorer too. You could still be richer and just be poorer relative to some other standard. I just don't really think that there's anything bad about, yeah, like if you have lots of money, uh other people, yeah, but yeah, but other people will be motivated to get it from you. So if you want to stay rich, you have to you have to have a you have to maintain your superior position. So I'm just not that worried about people like this. And to say that your analogy is going to apply to Bitcoin, that's also something that I find dubious. That I would want more proof to make me worry about it. So why don't you just start the fork that gets rid of the minor reward and see how people like it? Because that ultimately, what is the point of arguing with somebody about it when it's not very costly to create? Well, I would give them all to me. Well, why would I do anything other than that? um, we've been talking about 45 minutes, and so I think that it is time for me to get going. But it was nice to meet you, and I will be excited to see when you post this on YouTube. Okay, thanks. Bye.